Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture something with me. Drive down almost any suburban cul-de-sac in America right now and just pay attention to the driveways. You're going to see manicured lawns, pavered walkways, lifted F-150s, a pristine white Tahoe, maybe even a matching his and hers Range Rover situation that honestly costs more than a starter home. You drive past and you think, man, everyone on this street is absolutely crushing it. But here is the crazy secret. They're not. A shocking number of them are literally one missed bonus away from a complete financial meltdown and a very quiet, very uncomfortable conversation with their advisor.
Okay, let's dive into this, because it honestly defies logic, right? Over a third of Americans earning $200 grand a year are living paycheck to paycheck. No way, right? But it's true. This isn't a story about the ultra-rich or the working poor. This is a story about how almost everyone around you might just be faking it. We're going to look at the undeniable signs of the secretly broke. And, the most uncomfortable part of this explainer might not be recognizing your neighbor. It might actually be recognizing yourself.
So the easiest place to spot this illusion, it's parked right out front. $772. That is the average new car payment in America right now. But our secretly broke neighbor, well, they don't just have one new car. They have the multi-truck driveway. Let's do the math that nobody actually wants to do. Take two loaded full-size pickups. At today's rates, financing those over 72 months puts you at roughly $1,900 a month. Add in your insurance, gas, and maintenance, and this household is spending around $2,500 a month just to exist inside two metal boxes that sit empty 18 hours a day. If they make $120,000 a year, that is 35% of their take-home pay going strictly to vehicles. That's not wealth, that is a car payment with a mortgage attached. Now you might be wondering, how on earth do they keep this up? Well, they use what's called the negative equity treadmill. The neighbor gets a new truck, and 2 years later, boof, a different new truck appears. You think they got a promotion, but here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. The average trade-in right now has about $7,200 of negative equity, meaning the car is worth less than what is owed. So the dealer just slides that loss right into a brand new 84-month loan. Guys, that's 7 years. They spread the financial pain so thin over those 84 months that the buyer never even tastes it. The monthly payment stays roughly the same, so the neighbor feels like they got an upgrade instead of taking a massive loss. It's literally the credit equivalent of boiling a frog.
All right, let's move from the driveway to the house itself. You get invited over, you walk through the massive 2-story foyer, past the quartz waterfall island, and then you notice something kind of odd. The formal dining room is completely empty, except for a smart thermostat on the wall and a slight echo. We call this the square footage ceiling. Since the 70s, the median new home has ballooned from 1,500 square feet to over 2,200 square feet. People stretch their budgets to the absolute limit to buy a massive frame to fit into a fancy zip code, but they have absolutely zero money left to actually furnish the set. So you end up with a folding card table in the den and a stationary bike in the bonus room.
And this brilliantly illustrates what usually happens next. You might see construction crews at that exact same house. Last year it was the primary bath, this spring it's the basement. It looks like they have endless cash for renovations, right? But the reality is much darker. 39% of home equity line of credit, or HELOCs funds, are going straight to debt consolidation. People are literally draining the equity out of their homes to pay off their mounting credit card bills and then just telling the neighborhood they're redoing the basement. It's not a remodel, it's a blood transfusion from their house to their credit card company, and the house is the one getting weaker.
Here's a little subtle visual tell you can spot on your next evening walk. Pay attention to where the expensive vehicles live. If that $60,000 finance truck is sitting outside in the rain and the garage doors are shut tight, well, there's a reason. The garage isn't full of cars, it's full of stuff. Unused Pelotons, kayaks that have literally never touched water, stacks of Amazon returns, and thousands of dollars in Costco impulse buys. They bought way more stuff than their massive house can hold, and they've decided to let their most expensive, depreciating asset weather the storm in the driveway just to protect their clutter.
But hey, it's not just the giant physical items bankrupting the cul-de-sac. It's the silent killers. We call this the subscription iceberg. If you ask the average person what they spend on subscriptions every month, they'll usually guess around $86. But the actual number? It's over $219. That is a massive 3-to-1 gap. 42% of people are paying for services they've actively forgotten about. Streaming services, a wine club, a meal kit that just shows up on the porch whether they want it or not. That's roughly $2,600 a year just bleeding out in background charges that provide almost zero pleasure.
Which brings us right to the front porch, or as it looks lately, the loading dock.
Food delivery apps mark up restaurant prices by about 25% before you even add the delivery fee, the service fee, and the tip. A $40 meal quickly becomes $70. If a family does this just 4 nights a week, they are spending roughly $15,000 a year on the sheer act of not cooking. Think about that number for a second. 15 grand!
I really want this to sink in. You could literally buy a used Honda Civic every single year, hand the keys to a total stranger for free, and it would still be cheaper than a consistent DoorDash or Uber Eats habit. Your neighbor's porch has become a FedEx regional hub, and their credit card balance grows every single week just to keep this absurd convenience machine running. It is a civilizational problem masquerading as an app on our phone.
Okay, let's talk about the kids for a minute, because this is where the financial bleeding really gets a uniform. Welcome to the travel sports industrial complex and the private school pipeline. Elite club soccer or AAA hockey can easily hit $15,000 a year per kid. Throw in private school tuition at $30,000 to $80,000 a year in major metros, and parents are vaporizing an entire second income. They're skipping their Roth IRAs, pausing their 401ks, and putting hotel weekends on credit cards. And the reality? Most of these kids are heading to the exact same state universities as their public school peers. It's not an investment, it's a status purchase with a classroom or a scoreboard attached.
And, I mean, what suburban illusion of wealth would be complete without a massive toy parked on the side of the house? A boat. 15 years, that is the length of a modern boat loan, which, by the way, is longer than a lot of marriages. Imagine a neighbor financing a $130,000 wake boat. They are locked into roughly a $1,200 monthly payment for an asset that drops in value by the minute. And they might use it, 14 days out of the entire year? It is quite literally a financial hostage situation with a cup holder.
Now, what's really interesting about this next trend is that it reveals the absolute darkest, reddest flag of them all. We call it the produce loan. Buy now, pay later used to be for an impulse buy. Maybe a cool gadget or some clothes online. Now, people are using these microloans to finance short-term consumables, specifically groceries. We are talking about checking out a Target shopping cart in 4 easy installments.
The numbers here are just truly alarming. Currently, 29% of all Buy Now, Pay Later users have financed groceries. If you look at Gen Z alone, it jumps to 38%. Even worse, 54% of people using these services openly admit they simply couldn't make ends meet without them. Listen, if you have to split the cost of your groceries into installments, your budget isn't just tight. Your cash flow is hemorrhaging.
Just let this concept sit with you for a second. Financing an apple on Tuesday that was eaten on Wednesday. Groceries are the ultimate short-term consumable. Using installment loans for food means you are basically running a 10-day credit operation against your very own pantry. It is the absolute peak of the modern financial squeeze, hidden right there in plain sight at the self-checkout lane.
So how do people even justify all of this? Well, they do it through something researchers are now calling money dysmorphia. People are comparing their real, struggling bank accounts to everyone else's perfectly curated highlight reels on social media. The Tulum vacations, the brand new kitchens, the matching cars. And the wildest part of this data? 59% of people experiencing money dysmorphia still describe themselves as financially stable. They are literally unable to see their own math clearly. They aren't just lying to the neighborhood, they are lying to themselves first.
And that leads us right to a behavior you have definitely encountered: the loudness tax. The most financially insecure neighbor on your block is almost always the loudest. They bring up money totally unprompted. They slide their recent bonus into a conversation about the weather. They are obsessed with credit card points, chasing the next crypto coin, and narrating their success at every single block party. They pay the loudness tax to project an image of wealth because, deep down, the reality is built on a mountain of debt.
So the crucial point is, who actually has the money? Well, the largest study of American millionaires ever conducted flips the script completely. True wealth is universally boring. It comes from consistent index investing, not chasing hot stocks. It comes from carrying zero credit card balances, not playing the endless points game. The real millionaires are quietly letting their wealth compound in a 401k in the background, entirely uninterested in what the block party thinks of them.
When you walk down the cul-de-sac tomorrow, I want you to completely reframe how you look at things. The neighbor with the matching Range Rovers, the wake boat, and the massive kitchen renovation? Yeah, they likely just took a hardship withdrawal to cover the holidays. The actual millionaire on your block? It's probably the person driving the 2014 Highlander with the faded paint, wearing a jacket they bought a decade ago. Wealth is what you do not see. Debt is what you do see.
I'm going to leave you with this final, vital question. Consider your own driveway, your own subscriptions, your own daily habits. Are you quietly, boringly building true, lasting wealth? Or are you paying a massive premium every single month just to finance the loud illusion of it? The choice is entirely up to you, but remember, the math never lies. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it opened your eyes as much as it opened mine. See you next time.